please. Welcome to the Global Center for Christ Consciousness. The folks in the room, the folks online. Happy holy days to everyone. This is a time to remember our priorities. God first in all things. God is the Alpha and the Omega. We begin and end our sacred services with some form of prayer and gratitude because of our clarity about priorities. Spirit, God, the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother, comes first in our lives. If and when we forget this, we learn now to forgive ourselves and come back to center and begin again. Each moment becomes a new beginning in that sense. So in this moment, Father, Mother, God, we ask that your holy presence bless each of us, the collection of us, even the folks online. Allow your holy presence to descend in any room that we are joining in this service, alone or in a group. We call upon that holy presence and we give thanks in advance that this presence is the presence of love, peace, joy, and abundance. Father, Mother, God, let all the universe celebrate that two or more are gathered in the choice to remember that we are as you've created us to be, the living Christ. And by the living Christ being birthed in each of us, we can then proclaim that heaven is indeed here now, in, through us, as us, and that all the children of God can be blessed and remember their true inheritance. And at that moment, all tears vanish, all lack, conflict, duality, all the hurts, frustrations, the past, all disappears in the present moment of your love. For this we give thanks, and so it is. Thank you.
From Paramahansa Yogananda, enter into the new year with new hope. Remember, you are a child of God. Determine what you are going to be, and be proud that you are a child of God. What have you to fear? No matter what comes, believe it is God that is sending it to you. You will succeed in conquering these daily challenges. Therein lies your victory. As you do God's will, nothing can hurt you. That is love everlasting. Think that. Believe that. Know that. And so it is.
Please join us in reading our mission statement, located on the white cards in the seat backs in front of you. And together we say, the Global Center for Christ Consciousness is a spiritual center for students and masters on the spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world of love, peace, joy, and abundance. And so it is.
All righty. So can you share with me, please, any thoughts or concerns going on in your life, topics you want me to cover today?
Completion.
Frustration.
Transcendence.
Unity.
What is it?
Unity.
What was it?
The unhealed healer.
Change. Eternal life.
Hold on.
Purpose.
Hold on.
Holding on.
Stop.
Experiences.
What is it?
Purpose.
The one over there? Never mind. Purpose. Okay, that's good. Thank you, folks. A good long list of items, as usual. And even as I'm asking, for feedback, for ideas, each person's request has some relevance, some importance, or you wouldn't be bringing it up. Some are coming from a deeper part of you. I really want to know this. Others, it's kind of skipping through their head and so on. So we cover as many as we can. Some, quite often people are sharing that there's a word or a concept on their mind that they didn't get a chance to say, or someone else, spoke louder, so somebody else got heard, and yet the topic comes up anyway. So it's all pretty magical in that sense. But the topics, from the frustration stuff that some are bringing up, staying connected, a sense of purpose, eternal life, dealing with change, transcendence, unity, and so on. There are all kinds of different topics. One thing that ties all these topics together is the idea of becoming co-creators. On the spiritual path, the spiritual journey, we learn so many different things, and we actually think it's like merit badges to learn transcendence, ascension, all these really cool fancy terms. It's really, in one word, it's remembrance. We're remembering who we are. It might look like I'm using the 12-step program. It might look like I'm using meditation, Buddhism, Course in Miracles, and whatever other topic. I mean, it's kind of amazing to me that at the end of the day, we're holy beings. These things are just what we're using for now. They're you could almost say they're for our own amusement. It's not like God's going, psst, this one's better than that one. Like a John Lennon song, whatever gets you to the light is all right. So, you don't need this, that, the other. It's just whatever works for you. So we get fancy. And then what's really dangerous is whatever thing is our buzz for today. Oh man, I'm into this. Please never think that any of yours are better than anyone else's. And that's where we get into big trouble in the world, is where my politic is right, yours is wrong. My religion is right, yours is wrong. It's kind of amazing. Just go a little deeper into your study if you need to. If hearing this isn't enough, go and study and find out, when people have near-death experiences, how many of them are told that all along their religion was best and that everybody else's was wrong? They don't usually come back with that kind of information. It's interesting. Why wasn't it a priority? Why was comfort more important than that? Why was reassurance to that person? Generally speaking, there are some that go and they get a download of some prophecy or something, but generally speaking, it's comfort, reassurance. On the other side, they're typically going, don't sweat it. Yeah, but I didn't realize it was, yeah, whatever. Chill. It's okay. Now, that doesn't mean they're saying, and they enable everything that you did that was hurtful. But they're not like, we got to talk about that. What they do is, we better talk about that. It's more lightweight. It's more like, yeah, well, you get to see your deceased relatives, say your hellos, give a few hugs. But if you're going to stay there and move through the other realms, higher realms, you do have to step up and own your stuff. It might not look like it with a near-death experience. They don't have that much time. You're only going to, once the paddles come in, clear, they know they've lost their chance to talk to you. But lightening up is so important. Feeling like you have something that needs to be heard. It's so intellectual chakra. It's so lower mind, even though you think it's higher mind. It's so old occultism. It's old heady stuff. No matter what you study, it all comes back to love. And when you don't get that, all they do is say, okay, we'll have to send you back for specific lessons on love. They'd never actually say you hadn't read that extra agreement, that extra insight from Celestine. You missed one chapter of A Course in Miracles. They don't usually go that route. It really comes back to the presence of love. How are you being God? Not, were you good? That's Santa Claus, okay? You're naughty and nice. That's not the God thing. The God thing is going to be like, were you the presence of love? Well, yeah, except when that happened. Okay, well, we can work on that. We'll set you up with somebody to help you work on that topic, whatever it happens to be. Transcendence becomes my willingness to know transcendence or not. My lack of wanting to know it, I get signed up to be able to learn that. So it's really, spirituality is us facing ourselves more than it is living up to the assignments that others have given us, or even that we've given ourselves. It's really about an unfoldment, like a flower. That's why the lotus in the east, the rose in the west, is all about this unfoldment concept. You see? And the tensions, the not getting it right, whether it's when you go to the other side or each day, the not getting it right is not the way a master gardener treats a rose. You never see a master gardener on their knees face to face with a rose going, "What were you thinking? I wanted more red." And the rose is like, "I'm just here, man. I'm just being." But we get tense. We do that on ourselves. There's an unfolding away from addiction, and there's a get it right, don't be an addict or else. There's an unfoldment of spirituality, there's religion, get it right or else. You see? Even with politics or whatever. We put perfectionism, which is not a God creation. Perfectionism implies something's wrong, and perfecting it by your standards would make it right or holy. And God's like, none of that's true. Underneath what you think you see is holiness. That's how the unfoldment, the remembering is learning to see what's there. Well, how do I do that when something's in the way? In a word, it's forgiveness. Forgive what you think is there. No, I'm going to intellectually figure out how to make it be there. If I have a child and it's getting bad grades, I'm going to need to have a conference with their teacher, or I can blame them, and get them to make my child get A. See, that's intellect. Taking a flower and crushing it so you can analyze its particles and then presumably tell the world what you think that thing is for. That's valuable in some way, but very little value. Because you're analyzing something. And as soon as you analyze it, technically, it becomes lifeless. Analytical behavior is not healthy. Analytical, like one sign of the Adam and Eve concept, one sign of Adam's fall is they're told you go about the garden and you name everything. What that was is not God's command, it's prediction. Once Adam and Eve fall in the garden, this concept of naming everything, in other words, posting your opinions online about other people, posting your opinions verbally we all have to learn to become immune to people's opinions because every one of them is wrong. Not, I wonder if my opinion's right. No, as soon as you have one, it's wrong because it's coming from your separated mind. You're opinionated. Where's the opinion coming from? It's compensatory. I feel separate, and the only way I can feel soothed is if everything's going my way. How does it go my way? Because I'll tell you how it has to be. And if everybody's behaving, now as long as my kids get straight A's, I can go, I guess I'm a good parent. But you're not, because your kids are neurotic and have straight A's. Where is love? And the world has taught itself and programmed people where love doesn't come first anymore. Even when it comes to the creation process, everybody gets real excited about, well, either we're victims in the world, there's that stage of people, but there's another stage that gets real excited. Guess what? I used to be a victim, but I figured something out. I saw this book, this video, whatever it is, and it told me if I sit and concentrate on how to make things happen, they start happening. And it sounds so cool. Words like, you are God. There is no God anywhere. You are God. And if you can just learn to use your mind to manifest things, you'll see that you are the creator. And it's like, it sounds so convincing. You know who that sounds convincing to? People that were a moment ago completely victims and messed up. So now you're giving them hope, but there's a secret there, because you're giving them hope that you can become God on your own. And there's still a lesson waiting to happen there, because we go from being victims to being creators, but we're not creators. We're manipulators. Well, I heard if I think about something, no, listen, from a root chakra, you can make things happen. You just force them. You can be more prosperous in an instant. Today, you can go from being broke to a better off financially. All you have to do is take your root chakra, tell it, I want you to make something happen, and it'll take you out and rob a bank. Now you have more money. But is it real? Are you more prosperous? No. Prosperity and abundance consciousness is not about making yourself physically manipulate your world. There's another technique. Go up one chakra. You just sit and beg God or desire it. I desire this. I need this. And even desire, even emotional chakra can manifest things. I need it. And there, okay, great. Does that make you God? No. Your ego is still controlling what you're going to manifest. It starts with you're missing something. Let's make something happen. Root chakra, emotional chakra, or that wonderful little mind, the lower mind, intellectual chakra. I'm going to think myself into a better life. And there's lots of testimonials about it. First time I sat down and concentrated, I manifested a soulmate. Sorry. But where is God? Where is God? Oh no, the book said, I am God. Do you see what's happening? Subtly edging God out. E-G-O. It's still subtly ego. I know it sounds fancy, especially to broken people who feel separate and victimized. Anything is better than that. So physically forcing it, emotionally urging it, begging for it, intellectually making it happen with thought. There's one more chakra. Where is it? The heart. That's good. So what's the heart like? The heart is imagining a different life. It's so much more beautiful, but it's still not there because we still have 3 upper chakras. The heart is better. The heart is the place of, pure imagination. You start to imagine a different life. Rather than forcing it, you imagine it. It's a higher mind. It is your higher mind. As Einstein said, imagination is the highest faculty for man. There you go. So you get in your heart, you get in your creative center, and there you can actually get insights and spontaneous thoughts and inspirations on how to change your life. That's the highest human way to renegotiate your life. But it still doesn't make certain that you're a co-creator. Without the creator up here, you're not yet a co-creator. You're still a creator, but could be manipulator, because my ego can come through any of these centers, even the heart. So what happens is I'm ready to be a co-creator. But that takes courage, because in my imagination, did you hear the word my when I said that? In my imagination, I'm still there deciding what to imagine. If I start going into this other thing where I'm like, I'll let God, how do I know God knows what I want? How do I know God is looking out for my best interests? You see, we have this suspicious fear of God, that it may not have our best interests. Now, God understands. God, in its infinite love, the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother, she understands. She says, I know, honey, and you'll get there. So why don't you at least try to come from here and do your best to come from here? And when you slip, I get it. I love you anyway and forgive you. Let's come back to here now. Oops, you slipped again the next day. Let's come back. That's all she's going to start doing, is trying to get you more and more in your heart. the easy way or the hard way, into your heart. So you can start coming from love and imagination and higher faculty to co-create a life. But there's also and by the way, she throws in there every time. And by the way, if you want to know about no, I don't want to know about, okay, I'll just be quiet. I'll just wait over here and let you learn to come from your heart. But if you ever want to come from, no. Okay, but if ever you do, okay, I'll let you know. And she waits, infinitely patient, for the day when you say, I don't know my own best interests. I don't know what I want. I think I know, but I don't know. See, if this is what we've been programmed to believe, that spirituality is religion, which it isn't, that religion is the same as God, which it isn't, and then religions, and I'm not putting down religions because everything has its place for broken people. But, no, it's true. You're going to need that for now. But when you're really ready to say, I want a direct relationship with God, that's spirituality at its highest. And in that place, it's like, I would like a partnership. I can, root chakra, we know how to do that one. Emotional chakra, right? Romance and somebody's making my heart go pitter patter. That's heart failure. So stop getting turned on by it. Intellectual chakra. There's all kinds of chakras that can make you think about partnership. Even this one, it's so much more love, whatever, But without this, nothing can be quite right without God's involvement. That's not because God's trying to sabotage us. It's we're trying to sabotage our connection. So deep, deep inside, we have beliefs here, such as if technically there should be a flow in creation. And one of you asked about unhealed healers. There's supposed to be a flow in healing, prosperity, teaching, being a healer that is starting in God and it flows effortlessly all the way through us, all the way to the root chakra with the body work and surgeries we do. Cooking food for your kids. All the 3D things can come straight from the highest heaven all the way through you, and it changes everything you do. But humans tend to not do that. We tend to be on automatic pilot. Well, I don't have to do prayer when I cook. I know how to cook. That sort of thing, right? We assume we understand these things. There should be a nice flow. So that's co-creating. But the problem is if one of my chakras here, or several chakras, is saying, I want a partnership. I want a partnership. I'm ready for, soulmates and so on and so on. I'm ready, but without God, it's still going to involve human lessons and challenges. And the more God is missing here, the more you're going to run into human stuff because it's infiltrated through your whole system. So now, God, I want to manifest prosperity, but I've been programmed to think money doesn't grow on trees. I've been programmed to believe I have karma. I've been programmed to believe that if you're spiritual, money is the opposite. And so is sex, for that matter. Think about that. God, how many people go, I'm going to meditate now, and I'm going to ask God to open my root chakra so I can commune with God. No, everybody wants to go to the crown, which happens to be on the opposite end of the root chakra. So that alone tells you something. God and not. How many people say, I'm going to strip down, sit and just meditate and stare at my genitals? No, they don't. They open their third eye. They imagine all kinds of blissful things. And God's saying, it's a funny thing. You come to me regularly in meditation. Yes, I do, my Lord. And God says, but you're always avoiding something else. You want to come to me incomplete. Bring your genitals with you. I don't know, man, but still. You want to go to heaven? Bring your genitals. Bring every part of yourself that you shame, that you judge, that you're angst. I've said this over the years, probably half dozen times over the years, that Dante's comedy, the Divine Comedy of Dante, which has the Inferno, Dante's Inferno and so on, that book, one of the key parts of that book that you could get the most out of is when he's describing being shown a part of hell. And he says, unexpectedly, there's cavernous, burning sulfurous places. He's getting all these visions of this. He was a Rosicrucian, so this was actually a mystic vision quest he was on when he had all these visions. And by the way, the Catholic Church ended up grabbing some of his material. That's where you get the visuals of hell. The Catholic Church took Dante's writings and then took that and made that what hell looks like, because there was no real understanding or belief in what it looked like. So it came from a vision of a Rosicrucian. But the visions, you understand, are symbolic. It didn't mean there's literally a place in the earth that people are suffering hell. Anyway, this part of hell, he says, it's not what you expect. Instead, it's a frozen lake. And the devil is in this lake frozen from his waist down. But the lake, first of all, symbolic. Frozen from the waist down. Naughty stuff down there. From the waist down is all naughty. So that's what hell, the frozen. But it also means any part of you that's frozen is in hell. Your emotions, your beliefs, your opinions, your judgments, anything that's frozen. What happens when Novocaine wears off? You start to feel pain. So when you're on the spiritual path, you're allowing frozen stuff to thaw, and you wonder why you're feeling distractions or pain or challenges, inconveniences. I was in a lot less pain when I was stoned or drunk. It's when I stopped getting high that I started feeling cold turkey and night sweats. And when I didn't know I had child abuse, I was much better than when I started seeing memories. Of course, because you're thawing out. It's a good thing. Walk through it, talk through it, let it keep thawing out. Titrate down whatever pace you want to do, but let it happen and trust in the mother. You don't have to actually suffer in your thawing out process, but we believe we do. The ego has convinced us. You start thawing out, I assure you there's going to be pain. Then it plants pain and proves itself to be true. But it's the one behind all of it. So we go, well, now, wait a second. I see it now. Even in my highest attempts to manifest, I keep allowing myself to choke down stuff that's intimidating to me. I'm wanting to manifest a soulmate, and I don't want my ego involved. I'm ready for a soulmate. And yet, it's not, God, I'm here. You do what you want. There's a part of us that thinks, I want a soulmate, but I'm well aware that whenever we devote our lives to God, we're usually celibate nuns. So here I am, Lord, do as you will. Thinking that, okay, that's what's waiting for us. Celibacy. And whether it's Eastern traditions or Western, we often hear celibacy. God's going, that's a terrible word. I wouldn't be celibate if I were you. And I'm not putting down celibacy. I'm saying that love in everything. And celibacy is fantastic in its original purpose, which is it means fasting. Take a break. If wounds are in the way or too much lust is in the way, take a break and look at yourself. Just 12-step yourself even in that category of life. Learn to make amends. Learn to clean up your act, whether it's a food addiction, a sex addiction, a drug addiction, or codependent addiction. Look at yourself. But it isn't God saying that one's bad, that one's not bad. It's anything where you're forgetting God as a priority. Bring God into your addictions. Bring God into your experiences, but with an open mind, with an open attitude. Wow, this is funny, God. I think I know what kind of partnership I want. I'm pretty sure if I want, let's say, friendship and passion, there's going to be out there somewhere a website, friendship and passion relationships. You go on, you try it, and you come back to, what was that? That was the freakiest thing I've ever experienced. I thought they were, and they said they liked to go out dancing. I didn't know it meant shooting the ground and having me like the Western movies. They said dancing. So I assumed, right. So it all goes so weird. Well, deep down, if you sit with it and say, but I did have some hope in that, didn't I? I had some attachment that this website was going to be different than the other 52 I tried out. Wait, 52? Wait. I think I'm addicted to relationship websites. I need to fast. I need to stop and go, what was I doing? What? Oh, desperation. Why? Well, because I'm 78 now. And I'm pretty sure that deep down there's a subconscious belief that if I don't get somebody now, I'll never have. And then now I'm afraid of being alone. Thanks, brother. You can do what you need. Tag, you're it. See how I manifested a relationship right there? How effortless that was? Yeah. Oh, and he's gorgeous. He had this long brown curly hair. And he fills all my needs because I'm not technically savvy, and he is. So anyway, so we make up these stories about what completes us. And none of it matters because that affirms that you're incomplete. Now try the other route. I am complete. I'm whole. I'm as God created me. You know what's going to come up next? Then I guess you don't need anybody. Now you're going to be alone. So you're in trouble again. The ego will not allow you to feel peace. And I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to know the peace of God. Everybody, to each his own. Whether it's what you choose for food or what you choose for relationships. All I know is the more I find peace within myself, the less I feel needs for somebody else to bring me peace. But it also means saying no to things that aren't peaceful. So you manifest a relationship. Learn your lessons, be responsible, don't blame them for everything. But at the same time, you sit and go, wow, what's this about? What does this remind me of? But I went to a brand new website. Doesn't matter. Patterns are patterns. Try a completely new website. It doesn't matter because wherever you go, there you are. Oh, now I bummed you out, right? So I was hoping for somebody else. Knock, knock, who's there? Me. Oh, God. So the ego rules all these areas of our life. The ego that isn't Satan that needs pitchforked from Archangel Michael, it's more like it's told no. So look at that you become more of a person on the path. The more I remember who I am, the less interested I am in things I am not. Look how simple that is. Dating, finance. The more I know who I am, the less I'm interested in that which I am not. Quick fixes. I'll rob a bank because I can have prosperity. That is being what I am not. Desperate and criminal. Just as examples of that which I am not. Relationship. Desperate and whatever else comes in. What's making me run to those websites? And I'm not dissing the websites. Do whatever you want, but do everything with God. Even when you mess up, you are better off asking God to be with you while you have another cigarette than to sit there cursing yourself, wishing you didn't smoke. Because then you've made it wrong, yet you're doing it, which means you're conflicted, and divided we fall. See? So just light up with the Lord. And I know that sounds irreverent. I don't care. At my age, you stop caring about what people think. No, but seriously. You are better off saying, it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing, God, because I believe this is harmful. I'm told this is harmful. And I don't want to, yet every day I do it. It's a funny thing. Be with me. See, asking God to be in you, with you, through you, it changes your frequency. The God in you will say, yeah, it is a funny thing. And the more you're calling me in, the more you're different, and you no longer need the smoke to feel different. You're doing it, let's pretend, for anxiety. Calms you down, let's pretend. So you're doing it to calm you, but so would the presence of God. So when you call in God and light up a cigarette, you start finding you already have the tranquility you thought the cigarette would give you. Now you're not as compelled to have a cigarette. But you didn't shame it. You didn't blame it. You didn't hate it. You start changing your frequency, and the things I am not start falling away because of the things that I am. And people will sometimes go, yeah, but then, now what am I going to do? I'm so spiritual now, I don't feel compelled to smoke, drink. I don't even eat that often. And I certainly don't have anybody holding me. So I've learned to become spiritual and bored. That's another program we have. It is. It's a program we have. Now what am I going to do? And I've lived with this all my life. And it's not easy. So I'm not sitting here boasting. I'm telling you full on, it's been confusing at times. You know, I remember one time sitting in a restaurant, and I worked there part-time as a kid, and I remember the guys were kind of starting to congregate in one area, and I kept working. And they're cleaning up, and they're sitting down and kind of just relaxing. And then they started going further and further into jokes, and then vulgar jokes, and this and that. And I'm still cleaning and working, whatever. But I remember there was a point where, they're all laughing at the vulgar jokes this one guy was sharing. And I turned, I hear them laughing, so I turned, and the guy telling the jokes caught, his attention was on me for a second. He turned and looked at me, and it was so weird, because he looked at me and went, like you're just hopeless. Like, I'm not even going to try to explain the joke, the punchline. Like, because he realized he's talking to an innocence that doesn't feed off of or even get. So I never got into horror movies, and I never really saw stuff that people are into. And I've told you, this is great news. When I came here, I said, don't ever ask me out. Don't ever get involved. Don't ask me to come over for lunch. I'm boring. Half jokingly and half serious. I'm like, yeah, you don't know anybody this boring. Let's watch a movie. What? What movie? Let's listen to music. What kind? Like, there's very little. The more spiritual we become, by default, the less this world turns you on. So now what are you going to do? You become boring. But that's a program. That's a belief. You don't have to become boring. That's a belief that the ego says, if you don't have ego stuff going on, life is uneventful. That's not true. What starts to happen, though, is you'll go through that phase. Shallow, waking up, and now you have nothing of the shallow. Now you have nothing, you're bored. That's just the second phase. That's the fasting phase. There's a third phase, which is before enlightenment, I chopped wood, carried water. Then I became enlightened, but now I'm back to chopping wood, carrying water. But everything's different. You'll watch movies, but not with as much triggering. But you won't be attracted to some. It's just now very organic. Here I did, here I refused to do, and here I'm just okay. You see? Sometimes my kids, when they were little, they would say, Dad, if we use The Simpsons as a metaphor of our life, and they're going to naturally say, Dad's Homer. No, they said, you're Flanders. You're the Christian next door who doesn't like to cuss, who doesn't, and I kind of took, wow, that's great. They thought I was going to be like bummed or insulted. I'm like, that's the best character. Of course that guy is exaggeratedly pure and all that. But that was a compliment for me. I'd rather be that than the drunk guy in the bar and this guy and that guy. So it resonated. But they would say, why don't you just cuss once in a while? Why don't you? And again, I'm not claiming to have been perfect. But they would say, why don't you just? So one day, I just imitated, fine. And I just threw out like 6 vulgar terms. I remember distinctly the room I was in. I remember 2 of my kids sitting next to their mom. And they all just turned and looked at each other, and then they burst out laughing. And I'm like, did that make your lives better? I just threw out these gross words, and they just turned and laughed. And their laughter is partly because it was a shock, but it was partly because, do you see how it doesn't fit? It's like we just entered the twilight zone. Dad, who's like this, did that, and it doesn't fit, so it became funny. But every time you and I are acting from ego, from anything but our divinity, God's laughing. saying, you silly folks. You can be a mass murderer. And God says, you don't see the humor in that. Well, it's disgusting. I know, but you don't see the humor. The people you've killed can't die, and you cannot cause harm. What you did is you made a hologram where you can act out all these absurd beliefs like fear and anger. But what fear and anger do you have when you're one with God? You don't. So this is all manufactured. Anybody you ever thought had the power to hurt you didn't, but it seems like it. And in the seems to be world, it's terrible. It's karmic, and you have to come back in the seems to be world with karma and have to live these things out and do them all over again. But there's another way of seeing all this, another way of living all this. Releasing the past, releasing attachments to our beliefs. We think Buddha was talking about releasing object attachments, which he was, but he's also talking about the attachment we have to our beliefs. We're attached to believing money doesn't grow on trees. We're attached to believing that if you want a complete life, it's all about manifesting things you want and need, but that implies you wanted and needed them. The real you can't have wants or needs. It's complete. So even trying to manifest from higher techniques is just a magic trick. It's just manipulating matter that doesn't matter. So really, what do we want? To feel the presence of God all the time. I wish I could had a better digestive system. When God is in my being and I'm ingesting food, it'll calm my digestive system more because of the presence of holiness. When you're making love and you say, I wish I had a partner that would have a deeper experience, more like spiritual, like loving, bring in the presence of God. And again, I've had people say this. Wait, you're telling me the next time my partner's like, hey, you know, I'm kind of in the mood, you're supposed to go, oh. Well, no, that would seem inappropriate and weird and maybe even a turn off, which you might want to use as a backup plan. But on a bad date, I absolutely want you. Yeah, of course you do. I do, man, you're so irresistible. That's right, baby. The only thing is I want to go into meditation for an hour. They'll be gone. They'll just split and then you're good, you see? But to imagine, you don't have to have hours of, meditation before lovemaking. You don't have to prepare with deep, powerful prayers and chants before you make macaroni and cheese. Just put it in the pan and boil it. But it's in an attitude of, in all things, starting my day, in all things, be with me, God. It improves organically you as a healer, a parent, a mom, a cook, whatever you do. It starts just downloading as a constant, consistent presence in all things. And that includes cash. No, God's up here and money's down there. God's up here, sex is down there. No, that's the world we messed up. By casting judgment on all this, thinking that by only oming up in our upper centers, we're spiritual. No. The natural or microcosmic orbit tells us, yes, go to the heavens, but bring it back to earth. Make it applicable. Make it practical. How does this change people's lives today? Man, I'm totally blissing out. And what? I'm just blissing out. There is no I in God. You're blissing out on your own? No. Bring the bliss to others. There is an O, others, in God. Bring it to others. That was kind of cool. So bring that change to others. That's what all the programs, all the highest programs, I don't care which one it is. You can say, I'm into Buddhism. I don't care. 12-step, I don't care. You can tell me all the steps of all the programs, all the yantras and mantras and everything you memorize and scriptures and sacred texts from the past. I don't care. What's going to matter is how it brought you to a deeper relationship with God, how it changed you, and did you bring the change to others? Say no to any of those, you are incomplete. Tell me all three are intact. I don't care which name it has. It's already the highest path I can imagine. I don't care if it's Catholic, Baptist, Eastern, Western, Northern, Southern. I don't care. It's got to have those three components, or else you're a liar to yourself. You're pretending, thinking that by intellectually memorizing scripture that you are more spiritual. You're not. Are you on a closer walk with God now? Do you feel in some way, almost viscerally, the presence of God? I don't mean you're holier than thou. I'm talking about you just know that your life is surrendered to the divine. You really seek to know God more and more every day. Got it. What about you? Is it changing you? No, I believe in God and then I serve others, but I neglect myself. You're still missing one. It's got to have all three of those. All three equally. But if there's a priority, the priority would be God first, self, then others. Not because others are not important. They're all equally important. But if there's a priority, it would be in this order. Why? Because human beings go to others to find themselves in God. Spiritual, awakened, balanced people take God, a healthier self, to others. What a different, that's the recipe right there to changing our lives. Stop going to others or even your ego manifesting law of attraction self into manipulating your life into a better place. Stop going there. Go to God first. So it's very interesting because all the techniques, some are higher than others, yes, true, but they're all still part of the illusion if they're coming from here, human self. What I really want to do, and check this out, and this takes courage and imagination, but it's new. So it takes courage, and that is, if I asked you right now, what would you like to manifest? Almost all of you would be able to come up at least with one thing. A raise at work, a better relationship, whatever, house, even guidance on where I want to move. Guidance is something you might ask for, and that's a good thing to ask for. But almost nobody says, wait, before I ask for anything, let me go into God. Now watch this. If I center into God, what I'm going to ask for is God's will. Yeah, but what's that? God's will. So great. God's will, I'm calling for God's will, but I need rent money. See, we don't realize God's will is for your happiness and your ability to pay rent. I swear it. We forget how practical asking for God's will is because we think God's will is somewhere in the ethers, totally ungrounded and non-practical, and then we have our human needs. Why do you think we hear God knows what you need in advance, but it doesn't mean things? Or we hear give us this day our daily bread. And so people actually thought it meant cash, bread, or even food. It's a symbol. Your daily needs. Fulfill through us our daily needs. And God's not going to go, all right, you have asked 300,000 times, so I'll now grant. That's not how this works. It means all your prayers are basically saying, although different wording and mantras and all these different techniques, they're all really saying this. I really do want God's will, but I don't know what to ask for and how to do it. But what I do know is I want God's will. And guess what? Why I'm praying? Because it isn't happening yet. So what are prayers really? They're all about us getting out of the way. Give us this day our daily bread means you probably would be, except I must be in the way. Lord, help me forgive somebody. God's going, I already did. So, ready? Go. No, God, I want you to forgive them. I already did. But the issue is still there. And we think good intentions are enough. My good intentions to become a manifester. My good intentions to follow the law of attraction. Listen, if I were responsible for creating and or popularizing the law of attraction, I would feel horrible because of how little it ever mentions God. Now, I'm not telling you should have a problem. If it's working for you, knock yourself out. I'm saying the way my mind works is I would not feel right about that. Telling people how they can make things happen. Well, it's the God in them. Really? They also have an ego. How do I know which one's talking? Well, before you even answer, stop. The only way it can be God is if you asked for it and you set your mind to it. God first. I had a positive thinking, a person that was from a very positive thinking, I'm not going to name that style or that group, but a positive thinking group that she was involved with. And I remember, this is like 30 years ago, and she said, would you lead a prayer? And I said, sure. So we led a prayer, calling things in, life, love, peace, and God's will, so on and so on. Do you know she actually pulled me aside later and said, that was an amazing prayer until you did the God's will thing. That kind of put a damper. That's what I was actually told. Wow, that was a buzzkill, bringing God in. Because the mind is programmed to think there's what you want, and it's different than what God wills. What you want is tangential. It's one thing today, a different thing tomorrow. One minute people are praying for a husband or wife or partner, and the next day they're praying for them to be removed. We're praying to manifest a job, then we're praying for a different one. We're moody. We're just totally bipolar. We're totally roller coasterish, and we're thinking that the reason God's God is because it can keep up. There must be a God. Who else could keep up with me? And God's just chill, and you're up and you're down, and God's like, wow, look at you. Up and down. Even when things do flow from the highest heaven through our lives, human beings get tempted to go, it was the law of attraction. You even try to edge God out when things go well. Praise God. Give thanks, not because God needs praise, because it aligns you to the thing you're praising. See gratitude as being, I'm in alignment, as opposed to trickery of this world. It's easy to want to manifest things in this world. And I wouldn't feel good just teaching people that's how you do it. So what we really can do is this. Center into, I call it from my meditations often, the presence of God, because to me that means everything. The presence of God fills me. Now, here's what happens. The presence spiritually fills you because you've chosen to believe it and connect with it. And you breathe that into your heart several times, like you're communing with God now. Now, much of the time, you feel so complete in such a meditation, asking for little things almost seems like silly. So it's almost like you could laugh at it. But there's no judgment. You just go, wow, I need this, and now it's kind of like funny. Have you ever heard of wanting a house, wanting a car, pushing to get it, but you sleep on it and the next day it's gone, the urge. Now you know that was addictive. You see what I mean by that? Well, we do that with a lot of things. Compulsive people because of feeling so separate. So we become compulsive, which is the roots of addiction. So we center, we feel the presence, and a lot of the frivolous stuff will just burn off. But God can also say, however, I thank you for joining me. Now let's talk about that rent you need to make today. And it walks with you all the way down to through these other centers to the moment of 3D and manifest cash so you pay rent. Do you see what I mean by that? You center into God and let it co-create with you whatever you thought you were looking for. You don't cut off from God and fear it to death. Nor do you cut off from God and you make it happen. Well, if I don't, who's going to do it? God only helps those who help themselves. What a weird affirmation. And now we have a bunch of doers, people that are making things happen, who help themselves. Who decided to come up with that? Well, I guarantee it. It's the ego coming through somebody, channeling it. Some broken person who forgot, actually, no. God through you can raise the dead, can change anything, bring world peace. Okay, wait. Nope, it didn't happen. That's because God was off work today. No, it's because my tangential belief system that I want world peace doesn't count. I need true belief, not tangential thinking. True belief. Now, there's a me and there's an us that creates our world. I do my own and it contributes to the collective, right? So if I say I want world peace, but the mass isn't ready for that yet, what's interesting is I might feel peace and not even notice a war, even if I'm in the middle of the war. How does somebody like Mandela end up in a prison and yet not let them imprison his mind? Solzhenitsyn, in a Russian prison, and yet he claims they could not take his mind. And it's not just these big figures in history. There are moms, dads, men, women, people that they could be enslaved and not let someone take their mind. They could still be talking to God, even when their slave owners tell you, you're not allowed to pray. You're not allowed to do this and this and this. You can nod and say, okay, but it's in here. You can have that experience with God no matter where you are. And that's the most real version of being on earth, no matter where you are, centered in God. And you do the greatest good. Because if I'm centered in God, it doesn't mean I go and wrong everybody or protest against everybody else. I'm already okay. And yeah, you'll see through the games of this world, the dualistic games that try to pull you this way or that way or up or down. You just aren't pulled as much. Well, that sounds boring. I like my highs. Yeah, my lows too in some way. Yeah, because that's addiction. But people don't realize you can have a steady as she goes, constant peace and still be in this world. And things happen more effortlessly. The more I drop, the more I have to work to climb. The more I climb, the harder it hurts when I fall. What a strange way to want to live. Well, I don't want to live that way. If you're doing it, you do want to. No, I just said I don't want to. If you're doing it, part of you must. See, and we have a hard time with that because it means taking responsibility. I know you didn't always consciously make decisions to go through hell with people. I know that. But when someone says, I want a new, whatever it is, I always say, wait, I hear you. You want a new, whatever. But I want you to change the words. Part of me wants. And they'll say, okay, part of me wants. Now repeat after me, and part of me doesn't. Well, Michael, that's not very empowering. Then call a different counselor. Part of you wants this and part of you doesn't. Say it. They say it. Now, I want you to repeat. Which one is winning? The one that's happening now. Are you bad? No. It just means I have invested maybe for lifetimes to get myself to this horrible experience, whatever it is, and now I just decided on a whim I want to change it. That's not how creation typically works. There has to be either long-term belief in one thing for it to manifest or dramatic belief or both. Most of what's happening in our life is coming from long-term dramatic beliefs that we don't deserve or that we're unlovable. And you want to say, snap my fingers and it's all gone. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't, because creation comes from the attention going into it consistently and powerfully enough. The good news, though, if it's a global kind of an experience, I can have it with myself and everybody else. I have to hold faith that everybody else will also be there at their own time. Your kids may not join you today. Do it yourself. Not, I would if my kids would join in. Just do it yourself. I wish I had a partner because then I would, no, just do it anyway. I would start tithing and donating if only I had $1 million. If you don't tithe when you have 10, you're probably not going to tithe when you have 1 million. I know the head tells us differently, but we have all kinds of ways of lying to ourselves. I want to know the truth, capital T of God, and I want to know the lowercase t, truth about myself. Even my flaws, my fears, let's take a look at them. Let's be honest about them. That's the stuff that blocks this flow. So now as co-creators, we don't just go, I'm ready, I'm going to make things happen. As co-creators, it really means more, I'm ready to get out of the way. But I can't get out of the way if I'm not willing to look at what's in the way. My fears, my doubts, my low self-worth, whatever it happens to be. Is that all making sense? I pray that that's brought peace to you in your questions. Especially, you're asking about unity. That covers that. And unhealed healer. What is the unhealed healer? First of all, I love that you're even trying to be a healer, but that you can own that you have unhealed pieces. Fantastic. To say that you're not a good healer because you have pieces is incorrect. You're going to have doubts. You can be the greatest healer on the planet. You're still going to deal with doubts. What should you do with them? Look at them, forgive yourself. Set your course. Again, when you're with another person, set aside the part you think is an unhealed healer and stay true to your healthy intentions in God. I want to be helpful. I truly am here to be helpful. And what would you have me do? And I close with this. You get into that meditation and it's amazing that God, it might be that, yeah, God's going to descend all the way with you to the root chakra, manifest cash. But you know what, guys? Sometimes what it does is it gives you new inspirations about how to make a better living. It's the coolest thing. In God, all the answers, not just the manifestations, the answers, the guidance and inspirations come. It's amazing. A person can be a musician, writing song after song, making movie after movie for a director. One day they get an inspiration and it comes through so clearly. And all of a sudden that song is the one that locked and loaded, man. It locked in and manifested your new career. We're going to be doing a course in a week or two from now called Co-Creating a New Life. I encourage you to get in that. Join us in that. It's a couple hours in the afternoon, but join us in that. And if most of this didn't make sense, and if you don't do that workshop, try to at least hear the difference between being a manifester, a victim, a manifester, or a co-creator. And you don't even have to like the words I chose. Just find your own prayer to say, I want to be a co-creator. I want you to help me create what comes into my life. Find your own humble way to say it, and then set that as your course and stick to it. Bounce back when you don't. Please take a few centering breaths. Just a few relaxed, centering breaths. When you're inhaling, think of all the things you do that commits to effort, work, doing, trying. Even meditating still could involve trying to get it right, sit right, breathe right. Just when you're breathing in, become aware of any of that. And then on the exhale, no need. Again and again. Trying to be healthier, whatever you're working at. No need. Keep that breath going. Let's ask and allow the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother, the presence of God's love in our universe, in our lives, in our world, in our body. Let's let her show us where we've tried so hard. Show to us what you want us to see right now. The most important, meaningful thing that we have tried so hard to be, to do, to accomplish. Whatever it is. Good grades, being a good mom, being healthy. It doesn't matter if you deem it good or bad, not the point. The things you try hard at. The things you sometimes say, I need to, and fill in the blank. I need to, whatever it is. I need to change my diet. I need to stop smoking. I need all that stuff. Peace and be still. If I have the peace of God, I have everything I need. The presence of God would fill every urge to eat, to drink. It would fill everything. But it doesn't mean I would become stoic. It means I would become more fully alive. Frozen parts of me would become redeemed, brought to life. Just notice these things. Take a minute to just go, wow, inside your mind. Wow, at how hard you've tried, how much you've worked at this. Wow, that's a lot. And I would bet that if you had a child you loved, you would not put that kind of pressure on that child the way you've done to yourself. You would not say to a child, eat right, do this, do this. No. That's where you can add a little more awareness, self-awareness, and laughter. Wow, a little too hard on myself. I instead choose the peace of God, where I'm already okay. I am perfectly healthy, perfectly alive, perfectly prosperous, perfectly centered, beautifully centered. No perfectionism to it. I'm wonderfully alive. I'm gratefully prosperous. Father, Mother, God, thank you for your holy presence. Teach me to forgive myself for all the ways that I misjudged, that I was lacking and needed something. Help me to forgive others that I thought needed. They need to stop smoking. They need to not cuss. They need to do this and that. Wow. It's hard work to try to be God and command everybody. I'm done. I want to rest in peace, but not dead. Show me how every day to let go and let God. And I give thanks that this experience, this learning, this feeling, this process to get this and understand it, I'm so grateful it's already integrating into every cell of my being. Peace, stomach, be still and know the presence of God. Peace to my liver, peace to my emotions, peace to my relations, everything, to my finances, peace, be still and know the I am presence of God. Not just in one meditation, one holiday, in my life and being, this is what I know to be true. And from now on, I choose this as my experience. Gently, and so it is. Just gently breathing, coming back to the room. Remember that God is love. And so every second of every day, love is trying to pour itself perfectly, fully into every part of our being. And it should be able to manifest as love, peace, joy, abundance, oneness, right? Prosperity, wholeness, health. Love conquers all. So it should be able to do that. The fact that it isn't, something's gone wrong. And it isn't with God. There are parts of me that are blocked. I need to look at more of those parts and give them up, surrender them. It opens me up, and then there's greater flow. Then I don't praise the technique or things of this world. I give praise that God has always been there, waiting for me to get out of the way. I give praise that this is the truth of God. This isn't a technique that I'm praising. It's the truth of God. Can anyone share what they learned or heard today that made the most sense, that was somehow the most helpful? Just tune into that, and then we'll do our closing prayer. Yes?
I wanted to say, first thing, when you're up there, you're not boring.
Good. Thank you. I'm going to remember that next time somebody says that at home or wherever I live. You know. And when they say, man, you're boring, I'm going to say, well, you know, but when I'm up on stage, I'm not. I'm kidding.
What I want to say is the three things that you mentioned, God, self, and others,
Yes.
those are like, I'm going to be thinking about those.
Good. God, self, and others. When I wrote a book on relationships, it's relationships with God, self, and others. I've actually had publishers say, we will take that book, we'll make it sell 100 times more than it already is if you just take out the God thing because it sounds strange. Just make it about relationship and self. Make it about relationships with others. Make it the romance. We love all that you're teaching about healthy partnership. Well, why did you have to put that other stuff in? And for a second and a half, I'm like, really? And the answer is no. Saying no is a healthy thing in your life. Remember that. When something is contrary to you. We had a disruptive person last week, and everybody, wow, they're going, I have to do that in my life. Say no to people that have an agenda and try to take my experience into their thing. But there's always one or two that go, no, I think you should have allowed that. Really? For how long? How many minutes? How many hours? How many Sundays? You see? It's their own fear of saying no that they project onto us that we should not say no to selfish or hurtful people. I know it's a drag. I know it's the bummer to still deal with stuff like this in this world when we're so sublime in our intentions, but at least do it with love. Don't hate anybody that you have to put in order, that you have to say no to. But that's a form of evil, believe it or not, because it's a form of ego. To succumb to people's fears and not say no because of what they might think of you, what they might say. Please, respect yourself like you were taking care of a child and protect them. Protect your healthy self. It's very important. Hands were up. Yes?
Even when you mess up, bring God in.
Even when you mess up, bring God in. I remember a native elder saying, Michael, what I do, I loved what you said about that. You know what I do? And for him, this was all truth. He said, I smoke all the time. I take my pack, I light up, and he said, and I smudge myself, and I believe it. I know it sounds to some people, really? No. This is where he's at. His sacred, he blesses the tobacco, he smudges himself, and whatever. Try in your own way to bring as much God into, and you're gonna be clumsy, you're gonna make some mistakes. I've made fun of how I tried to be so spiritual in everything I do. Probably the most common one I've shared with you is having a child. Let's read the Bible, let's pray, the child, the hands on the tummy, all those cool, new things, techniques. We're gonna do a water birth, and I was there, I did all that, but I also bought the child chakra pajamas where the buttons were all different colors of chakras. I did. If you're going to do things, man, go for it, To me, that meant all thoroughly in my life, I'm doing all this spiritual stuff. But that kid's still in therapy. She still ended up seeing a counselor. The chakra pajamas didn't save her. Asking God, what should I name the child? Didn't mean the child had no issues. So, laugh at it a little bit. Last couple people. Yes? Yes. Stop judging and trying to fix people. Everybody is on the path. It may not be your path, but I guarantee you, any path that someone walks is a spiritual path. How do I know that? Because everyone has a spirit. It can look destructive and weird, but that's not your path. There is a divine plan for all salvation of all beings, and it cannot fail. There's not a chance of it failing. So no matter how weird we are and how far we stray, everyone's coming home. One last, yes?
Manifestation is I, alchemy is we, or co-creating.
Right. That manifesting can very much come from what what I want, what I need. The only I involved with real manifestation, with real creation is, I don't know. I want, I need, I don't know. That sounds so disempowering. I'm going to go to that other technique. I want, I need. And look, I manifested a car. I'm sorry for you. What do you mean? I got a car. I know. Darn. You were that close. What do you mean? No, see, I get it. So try, I don't know. I don't know what I need. Your ego's going to say, I do know. And I know that. I'm sorry if it sounds harsh to hear I don't know. But the I don't know means my cup is empty. And I can be filled now with God, as opposed to trying to just keep topping off my cup of poison with more of my opinions. I don't know. It's the greatest prayer. It really is. I don't know, but God does. Thank you. We're going to do our collection and our closing prayer. If you don't mind, please just remember, be as generous as you can be. We will do our blessing. Be as generous as you can be. Come from your heart in what you share. Share abundantly. Folks online, God bless you. You're not even in the room, and we're aware that you folks have donated a lot over the years, each year, each week. Thank you for that. Let's take our love offerings. You're going to put in the bags, purple bags. Any extra donations you can afford, they go in the baskets, and that's for people of lesser means or sometimes for special projects. But standard donations in the bags. So hold that beautiful thought, connecting with God, choosing to put the will of God, which is love and abundance and peace, expressing gratitude, into that basket. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. And you know, guys, what we share here is extraordinary. It really is. It's very advanced and beautiful. But at the same time, anyone, anywhere that is sincerely choosing to connect with God is doing the right thing. That's as advanced as any of us can get. God first, your relationship with God. Let it change self and bring that change to others. It'll only take a minute more for them to pass the baskets. While they're doing it, please remember, if you're watching online or even if you're in the room, you can watch us every week by watching online. We're presented on Facebook Live, but also on YouTube, so you can see us there. But also there's a catalog of hundreds of these talks on our YouTube album, whatever they call that, playlist. So you can watch all kinds, and the topics are grouped. So you can go, I want to go and check out all the ones on relationships or on prosperity or whatever theme you want to look into. We do have a crystal bed here in our healing room outside. So if you'd like to experience, crystal beds are phenomenal, multi-dimensional experiences. So be sure to check that out if you're visiting or even if you live here. You can schedule those in the lobby after service or call the office anytime during the week. We have some new items on the table. That table we put out for all of December. There's a table in the corner. There's some gift packs that have like a book of mine, a CD, incense holder, gift card, greeting card. So there's a whole bunch of things that are like probably $60 worth, and I think it's only $20-something. So it's a really great deal if you're wanting something for yourself, a package of things, or if you want to give a package to somebody for the holidays or just out of love. Without having to think about all those things, they're already there. On Wednesday, December 31st, is that today? No, next week. We will be hosting, the New Year's Eve service. So that's our burning bowl ceremony. I got to tell you, man, the Christmas ceremony, Christmas Eve, was the most magical Christmas service I've ever experienced. It was just absolutely magical. And it wasn't all like set out, planned per se, but we did have the chairs in a circle that felt magical. The fact that several people brought children, we didn't, sometimes, we rarely see that, and they brought them, so we just decided to start off with a song that the children would know and love. So that was a way to dedicate the service to them, in fact. So they and their parents came up and sat up here with me, or up there with me. And we started it with that. But it was very deep, very beautiful, very powerful. So I appreciate anybody that joined us for that. Let's see. We've got on January 4th and the first Sunday of 2026, that's the first Sunday of 2026, we have what's called a Search for God. It's going to be a 12-part course that I'm going to facilitate here, probably in that meeting room, but possibly in here. But you can join us for that. I encourage you to do so. Edgar Casey created something called a Search for God. It's kind of like a Course in Miracles 12-step program. It's Casey's version of a spiritual awakening, awakening Christ consciousness. It's his version. So there's 24 lessons. We're going to do 2 a week for 12 months, okay, 12 weeks. On January 4th, and that's the one I just did. So join us for that if you can. It'll be here. Then the week after that, we're doing my annual Consciously Co-Creating a New Life. I say consciously because it's important to get across to people. It's to step up and consciously co-create with God a new life, not the same old, same old. So all kinds of principles and techniques on, how to get our minds a bit straight and looking at what we're manifesting that doesn't feel so good and how to release those things, but also how to have that cup filled again in a new life. Making sense? All right. Any other hands for sharing what? Yes?
What you said earlier was that addiction, and I remember being up on staging 2-3 stories high because I'm a builder.
Ah.
And I was talking to my daughter. This is where you listen to your kids. They see things that you don't see.
Oh, yeah.
And I was not in a relationship, and I was divorced from her mother. And she says, Dad, another person is not going to make you happy.
Wow.
Never forgot that.
Yeah. Out of the mouths of babes. Yeah. Those inspirational moments, children, or anything, a radio, a song suddenly is there and the words are there. And those are those moments of syncing up with God. But we can also sync up with our ego. I want somebody in my life. I want somebody in my life. Hey, somebody walks up. Hey, and you're like, oh, this is magical. I was just praying for somebody and you showed up. That might not be good news. That might be your death chariot, Yes.
The more I remember who I am, the less I'm interested in what I'm not.
Yes, a good one. The more I know who I am, the less interested I am who I'm not. And it's so amazing. It will change your relationships because people won't get the same things out of you. And that can be a little bit of a bummer for you because it'll feel like rejection, but yeah, it's an inconvenience to them because they're used to a certain you. One more person.
The small t and the capital T and the capacity or the parts of us that exemplify.
Right. Capital T, the truth of God. Lowercase t, your truth. Everybody wants to think that their truth is God's truth. And it's never true. Capital T. That's never true. Your truth means you have opinions involved. You see? And if it's opinions, it has nothing to do with God. Well, but my truth, it's coming from, and I can hear angels. I don't care. If it's an opinion, it's already dropped to lowercase t. And God's truth is always about love. So if your thoughts and opinions steer away from love, they start to enter opinions. God's is always inspiring, not exciting. Stimulating, no. That's called cocaine. Or Red Bull. No, it's, no offense, sorry if a Red Bull manufacturer is watching. It's God's truth is love, and it inspires because it lifts your spirit. Inspiring, in spirit. It lifts your spirit. And you'll also know God's will because it tends to be win-win scenarios. Meaning, instead of how can I get and somebody else not, it's so magical that somehow everybody can benefit. But not everybody wants to. God can channel through you and a partner in an argument, but only one of you might be interested in listening. But even then, it won't make you right. It'll make you effective in bringing peace. And if that's not happening, your head's in the way. Please stand for our closing prayer. Remember, join us if you can for our New Year's ceremony. It's the Burning Bowl ceremony. It's really, really beautiful. You share something, write something down, and release it into the centered fire. We're breathing in a state of gratitude. We're breathing in gratitude for God, the choice we made to be here and for others, everybody's contribution. I'm going to make this clearer and clearer that our membership, we have attendees, which is a form of membership, but we also have members. And I'm making it clearer and clearer in this coming year. We're all members. We're all equal in that sense. I might play a certain role here, but your request for events makes us all on the same plane. We're all gaining from the experience, you see? We all still feel stuff with life and challenges. And I want that to be clearer and clearer, that we're walking this together. 2 or more gathered in the remembrance of our true self, in the consciousness of Christ. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is.